Women educators are natural givers, pouring into their students, their families, and communities. But what about pouring into you? This is the Educator Sanctuary, where we help you ditch the guilt and unapologetically put yourself at the top of your list. I'm Dr. Leah, educator, mindset coach, and your guide to creating a life where you align with your purpose and reclaim your power. So if you're ready to set boundaries and step fully into the woman you're meant to be, you're definitely in the right place. Let's get into it. Hey, and welcome back to the Educator Sanctuary, where we have big conversations, mindset shifts, personal growth, and all the things that help you live more intentionally. This week, you all, I don't know how long we're going to be on here today, but let me tell you, this is going to be so good. So I hope you stick around for the entire show. And if you can't stick around for the entire show, I definitely hope this is the podcast that you save. This literally was a download while I was listening to praise and worship while church service was going on this week. And as I was listening to the praise and worship, one of the songs really caught my attention. It was a new song, so at this point, I'm learning the words and I'm reading them on the screen. The song at this point in time was talking about one of the names of God, which is El Shaddai, and it says something like, if he doesn't have any worries, then why should I? And I thought, wow, that's good. But then another thought hit me pretty much instantly. It was in that moment I realized how often we as believers sing songs that make God feel like he's external, like he's this being up in the sky somewhere, waving a magic wand to fix our situations or drop miracles into our laps. And I was like, oh my gosh, listen, I get it. We were taught to wait on God. In most churches, that's what you hear, right? We're taught to trust God's timing. We're taught to surrender to what he wants, what his will is. But sometimes that is the very mindset that can keep us stuck. Listen, when I say stick with me, I am going somewhere and I want you to go there too. But while we're waiting on God, I thought, what if he's actually waiting on us? And here is what I mean. When you believe that everything you're praying for, whether it's your business, healing, a breakthrough, peace, relationship issues, when you believe that the fixing of these things is going to happen to you from the outside, that is the point where you're already separating yourself from the power that already lives within you. So we talk about God being in control, but we forget that his spirit lives inside of us, which means that he moves through you, through your ideas, through your actions, through your discipline, through your obedience, through your words, and most of all, through your faith. God is not moving in an external vacuum. He moves through vessels, through people. And if you're sitting there and you're waiting for your life to change without stepping into the wisdom, the strategies, or the nudges that he has already given you and placed within you, you actually might be stuck because you're waiting on something that's already waiting on you. Oh my God. Okay, you all know that I already have a personal story. And I'm going to share that with you, of course. And this happened when I was much younger. So at the time, transparency moment, if you don't know me, you will know now. I was a young mom. I was fresh out of high school. I graduated early. I knew I didn't want a job, but I also knew that I wasn't really living. Okay. I was in my mom's house, still following her rules, still feeling very much trapped. I was not grown. My age said adult, but I was not grown. And so on this particular weekend, everyone had gone to church and I stayed at home with my baby. I remember sitting on the couch feeling very lost, feeling very ashamed, not happy with my life or the direction that I was headed. And I knew even at that age that part of my unhappiness came from letting other people's choices influence my path. So my mom, she wanted me to follow a certain plan. It was always go to school, get a trade, get a job. You all heard me say that in an episode before. That was definitely not the plan for me. I knew it did not fit who I was, and it definitely didn't fit what I wanted. That day, I remember sitting on my mom's couch and I broke down and I cried. I was literally screaming. Hey, Educator Sanctuary listeners. Are you a homeschooling mom or thinking about it, but feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or maybe unsure how to confidently guide your child's learning journey? Maybe you're craving time for self-care, rest, or just a break, but you feel like you're doing it all on your own without anyone to turn to for help. Let me introduce you to Purpose Prep Academy, an online and in-person STEAM micro school for learners in grades K-8. Purpose Prep Academy isn't just any school. It's a space where young minds are nurtured, empowered, and taught to lead with confidence, curiosity, and purpose. Purpose Prep Academy focuses on providing students with the academic tools they need while fostering personal growth to help them thrive both inside and outside the classroom. At Purpose Prep Academy, they offer personalized learning, foster critical thinking, and provide real-world applications to help students become 21st century leaders and change makers. If you're looking for a program that can help you reclaim your time, give you peace of mind, or simply give your child a space to thrive, Purpose Prep Academy could be exactly what you've been looking for. Want to learn more? Visit purposeprepacademy.org to schedule a virtual meeting or an experience day and find out if Purpose Prep Academy is the right fit for your family. Okay, if somebody was walking outside, they probably was like, what is going on in that house? Is everything okay? I was screaming because I was so unhappy and I really disliked the place that I was in. And so I was saying, God, I do not know what to do. I don't even know if you're real at this point, but if you're real, I need you to show me what to do next. When I said those words, and every time I think about this story and every time I tell this story, it feels very surreal because it was like, God, I need a sign. I need a literal sign. I don't want a maybe. I don't want to beating around the bush. Like, you need to give me a literal sign so that I know that it's you and I don't miss it, whatever it is. A few minutes later, and I mean a few, okay, less than the 5 fingers on one of your hands, I heard a noise in the mailbox. And I was like, what is that? The mail had already come earlier that day. And so I looked out the window, peeked actually, and I saw this man walking away with his bag on his shoulder. And I'm like, what is that man that's dropping the mailbox? And so I went to the mailbox, I opened it, and I pulled out a paper and it said, you can do hair today. Y'all, that was my literal sign. And let me tell you why. From the time that I was probably 10 or 11, I have been doing my own hair because one, I did not love the styles that my mom was putting in my hair. And then, like, I don't know, when you start feeling yourself a little bit and you're like, oh, I want to be a little grown or whatever. You want something different, and my mom wasn't doing it. And I wanted like the trendier style, so I was willing to try them on myself. And by my teen years, not only was I doing my hair, but I was doing the hair of friends and other people that I would meet in stores or whatever. And I was charging a small amount, like $20 per person. That was a lot of money for me. And I enjoyed it. It was something that I did for fun. I had extra cash. I didn't have to ask my parents for anything. It was really good. But I never saw like doing hair as my path. But that flyer, that was the literal sign that God had given me. At least I still believe it is, because everything fell into alignment after that. But it was like I felt something click in my spirit, like it was a dot connecting where things were once disconnected. It was like ding. And so this was over the weekend, obviously, because I said church. So on Monday morning, I got up and I went to the school that was listed on the flyer. I did not know anything about what the school would entail. I did not know anything about enrollment. I did not know anything about financial aid. I didn't know anything. All I knew is that I had that sign and I took it up to the school and I said, somebody dropped this in my mailbox and I want to sign up. Very enthusiastically, by the way. And I explained to the lady that I didn't think that I would have the support of like my mom at the time, because she wanted me to do something else. And this is just what I wanted to do. So I asked her if she could please help me so that I would not have to go home and ask for help. The lady helped me do everything. And she gave me choices like, hey, do you want to go full-time or part-time? Part-time was 18 months, full-time was 9 months. I said, I'll just go ahead and do the 9 months full-time. And I made a plan, like if I can do hair, right? I want to get my license and I can get more clients. I can work in a salon. I'll be able to have enough money to move out of my mom's house. Literally, you all, that is exactly what happened. That decision, that moment of obedience, it literally changed the entire trajectory of my life. Doing hair was a passion, and it was my path for income for at least the next 10 years after that. I had built a business. I had provided for my child. I was able to put money in retirement. I literally enjoyed what I did. I had more confidence. I discovered my purpose. And even when I transitioned into corporate America, because I wasn't able to continue to do hair due to an injury on my hands, and the doctor basically was like, you're not going to be able to do this. I didn't know what else to do. But all while I was doing hair, I was going to college and I had 2 degrees by this time. And I was able to transition out of doing hair and I was able to go into corporate America, because at the time I just didn't know what else to do. So I was like, well, I'm a business owner, so why don't I go learn something about running like a bigger business, because I thought that maybe I could transition out of doing hair to like owning hair salons and things like that. So long story short, that season taught me that when you ask God for direction, that he might respond through a nudge or a whisper, a drop of inspiration, a literal sign in your mailbox. But it's something that you have to move on, because that's how he activates his power within you. And he's done this with me several times. After I did hair and I went into corporate America, I didn't know what to do next. And when I went into corporate America, I still didn't know why I was there. It was kind of boring. I didn't love it. Definitely hated having a boss after being my own boss for at least 10 years. And I will say that this was a growing space for me, because I didn't love corporate America, but I liked some aspects of what I was doing. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to stay there forever. And I knew that it was a stepping stone, but I didn't realize what it was a stepping stone for. But the way that I was able to get the job was a miracle within itself. So I knew God had placed me there. And so I decided that I was going to stay there until he gave me my next assignment. At that place of employment, I learned an entirely new set of skills, one that I would later combine with my entrepreneurial background. And that mix eventually led me into teaching. which I actually started doing in that corporate America place. It was almost like seamless transitions. So even though I was in corporate America, one of my last roles they gave me was to go and teach the sales team. And so that teaching led me into education, which was another stepping stone, which led me to where I am today. Looking back, I can see how every single season and every single step was ordered. Each one built on the last. Each one prepared me for the impact that I am able to make right now. But I believe that only happened because I listened to the God within me and not the idea that God was somewhere outside of me, waving a magic wand to get me out of my troubles. And that is why it is so important to pause, to pray, to listen, and then move when you feel that inner nudge. Because sometimes God is not sending a miracle, He is sending a message that requires you to move. For this week's homework, I would like you to really reflect on where you think you're waiting on God and ask yourself honestly, is He waiting on me? Did I miss the memo? Write down one area of your life that you've been praying for breakthrough. And then truly listen for the next instruction, the whisper, the ideas, the opportunities, the dream, however He speaks with you. And take one action toward it whenever He gives it to you, no matter how small. Remembering that obedience doesn't always come with clarity, because a lot of times I did not know why I was doing something, including when I became a teacher. I remember I was sleeping in bed, minding my own business, by the way. And all of a sudden, I jumped up out of my bed and I said, oh, I have to quit my job. I'm going into teaching. And the person that I was with at the time was like, what? Teaching? And I'm like, yes. And they said, but what about your salary? Because I was making a really good salary in corporate America. Teachers don't make any money. And I said, I don't know. I guess God is going to have to figure it out because I think that He told me that I need to teach. Very weird, by the way. And I can say for certain that while I did have to take a pay cut for a very small amount of time, once I got my degree, which was a third degree, and certification in teaching, everything that I might have had to give up, God gave it back. I was a first year teacher in education with an unbelievable salary for a first year teacher. And it was because I was able to get paid for my experience as well as all of my degrees. So it was like I took a step back in a sense to what most people felt like was taking a step back, but God really had me take a step back, and through my obedience, He leaped me forward. So obedience doesn't always come with clarity. Sometimes it just comes with peace, the quiet knowing that you're being led even when you don't fully see the outcome. I am actually living another one of those right now. I am 1,200 miles away from where I was born and raised, but again, following the steps of what God has given me, because I know that God is going to bless me in the obedience. So as you go through this week, remember, you're not waiting on this distant God to show up and fix your life. Sometimes I think that's what people think, right? They say things like, I'm waiting on God to send me XYZ. And I'm like, well, how is He sending it? Are you waiting for Him to put it at your doorstep? Or, you're waiting for Him to drop it out of the clouds? Like, how is He getting this to you? And I think it is the disconnect because it comes from the songs that we sing. We sing it like He has this magic wand and he can come fix it, and he can. It's just not in a manner that we perceive. And so some of us are waiting years to achieve something that starts with you. You are the vessel that he uses to move. You are the person that he gives the wisdom, the knowledge, and understanding to. You are the person that needs to take the action to get to the next step. The same power that spoke the world into existence lives inside of you. Your prayers are how you enter the conversation with God. But the nudges that he gives you to move is how he answers. So stop waiting for the miracles to appear outside of you and start moving like the miracle is already within you, because it is. I hope this spoke to you today, and I hope that you are just as excited as me. I hope that it made something click like, oh my goodness, because it did just that for me when I was listening to the song during worship. And if it did, I want you to share this with someone else who might need to hear it too. And keep sharing, because I say this every week, but we are so close to those 1,000 downloads. We're so close. I know that we can hit it before this week is over. I really do want to start bringing some amazing guests on this show, but I made a promise to myself, and I'm very adamant about doing what I set out to do. And I wanted to make sure that I brought people on once I hit those 1,000 downloads, because I wanted to make sure that there is an audience ready and waiting to receive the powerful words, messages, and gifts that these awesome people have to share. So let's try to hit that 1,000 download mark within the next 7 days. And here's how you can help. You can share this podcast with someone else. 5 people, 10 people, 20 people. I know you have more than 20 people in your phone. You can also listen to more than one episode, because honestly, they're all really good, and I'm being biased, but they are. So you can scroll through the title, see which ones sound interesting to you, and press play. A download is actually not you listening to the podcast one time or following the podcast. It's how many times someone listens to an episode. So you can listen while you're washing dishes, while you're in the shower, on your commute to work, taking the kids to school, on your treadmill, literally wherever you are. You can share the link to this podcast in a text. You can share it over email. You can share it on social media. Let's get the word out and help as many women as possible, because everybody deserves to live their best life now. I really appreciate you. We are almost there. 4 countries, 114 cities. Thank you for listening. I will see you in the next episode. Talk soon. Thank you for joining me in the Educator Sanctuary, where we create a space for women educators to reclaim their power and prioritize themselves unapologetically. If you've loved what you've heard, please do not forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with other amazing women who need to hear this message. Until next time, remember, you are capable, you are powerful, and you are absolutely worthy. You've got this. Talk soon.